Hi, this is Paul Slack. It's Good News Planet and Peace Day Party. And I'm speaking to a real champion of peace, Fred Armet. Hi, Fred. How are you?
Hello, Paul. Nice to be talking to you, and I appreciate the phone call. It's great.
Oh, Fred, you've been doing good for a long time, and especially in the world of peace. He has an organization called International Cities of Peace that he's created, and amongst other things. So, Fred, give us a little bit of the background. We're making this part of a special for our Peace Day Party outreach, which on September 21st, the UN declared a day for being nice to each other, and so
yes, absolutely.
you and I
Yeah,
and many others are trying to emphasize that opportunity for the world. And tell us what you are doing about it.
yeah, it's a great opportunity. Actually, the UN has kind of laid out a dinner plate of all kinds of foods for thought and food for action. The International Day of Peace is something that our hometown has been doing since about 2005, but other people have been doing it for a long, long time, decades, since the 1980s. And it's become a pretty large global organization and celebration. The International Cities of Peace, the organization that I'm executive director of, is planning a large celebration called the Global Feast for Peace during International Day of Peace on September 21st. It happens to be Sunday, which is nice. The faith-based institutions can be involved also. But we have about 75 different cities of peace initiatives around the world. It's become rather large. It's grown organically for about 5 years. And we have a really amazing group of individuals and groups within cities in Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, and South America. Each one of them are individual in nature, yet they are working for the same thing, and that's to grow the idea and the reality of peace.
Aha, all right, that's great. What inspired you personally to do this?
Well, I was, along with everybody else trying to make a living a long time ago. I did fairly well. I was able to retire early and decided to really follow something that had been on the agenda, but after working 12 hours a day, as many of us do, I didn't get to spend too much time in it. But the idea of peace and arms reduction and just making a place for adults and children to be safe and to be prosperous and have a quality of life, that's how we define peace in the International Cities of Peace: safety, prosperity, and quality of life. And I think that is something that's an honorable way to either make a profession or make a volunteer activity. So in the early 2000s, we started an International Peace Museum in Dayton, Ohio, and I was one of the founders of that. And from there, the opportunity arose because I was friends with the foremost scholar of cities of peace, Peter van den Dungen in Britain. And the idea came that every city actually has a legacy of peace, whether it's a famous doctor or someone who actually works with the peace moniker, somebody who's involved in going to other countries and working in NGOs. But there's always a legacy of peace in every single city of the world. And so what we're trying to do is make people aware that the peace legacy has not been documented, and it's not being taught in the schools, and it's not being used to inspire children. And so that's where we're coming from. It's the untold story, in effect.
Okay. And in essence, the good news is that most of the world lives in peace. And
absolutely, yes.
And that's the big reality that helps to make us all feel a little better, because it's true. If not, just picture the whole place: 7 billion people fighting.
Yeah. Even Gandhi said, even in the 40s, that there's much more peaceful activity than there is violent activity in the world, and that's what we really ought to look to. That we have a very optimistic way of looking at the world, and that really inspires people more than focusing on the negative, and that's why your program, the Good News Broadcast, is great because it focuses on the positive, and I think that's wonderful.
Focuses on people like you and everybody associated with you, and it grows from there, right? And
yes.
Every city. So tell me how you got the first city to say we want to be involved with that, which is always usually a difficult chore.
Right. Well, the idea of cities of peace is ancient. Jerusalem actually means city of peace in Arabic and Hebrew. From there, the Netherlands, The Hague, the Peace Palace, there are cities who have designated as cities of peace. So there's historical cities. But what we wanted to do was, instead of just resting on laurels of history, the idea is to create a grassroots organization that is actively working in communities in coordination with the civic leaders, and that's the key to the whole thing. It can't just be the grassroots individuals or the city leaders designating it. It has to be both. It has to be a working between the two. So what we found is that there were just several cities, one or two or three, who had been working out the idea of a city of peace. One of them in particular was Eugene, Oregon, and they had an individual there who had gathered a group of people, and they had designated themselves City of Peace. Dayton, Ohio, where I live, we had designated ourselves a City of Peace because of the Dayton Peace Accords. So that legacy enabled us to create a fairly large organization, a peace museum. We have a whole corridor named the Salem Avenue Peace Corridor. There's lots of different things going on in our city based on that legacy of the Dayton Peace Accords. So Eugene, Oregon, and there were a few other towns around who gave us the basis. Bradford, England had a peace museum, and it's the founder of the International Network of Museums for Peace is located there. So there are some cities that are actually designating themselves as cities of peace. In fact, the Netherlands was our latest City of Peace initiative, and they designated themselves City of International City of Peace about 100 years ago. So there is a historical legacy, and then all the rest of them have been created from scratch based on the idea of a City of Peace.
Okay, so say, is New York City, I'm looking at your map, is New York City, has that joined in?
No, not yet. We have a lot of contacts. I was just in New York City for the Rose Garden ceremony for the United Nations International Day of Peace. But it just depends on if somebody wants to form an organization, or if an organization already exists. The paperwork is not that big a deal. It's actually a group of people that create an initiative and commit to working for peace, and try to contact the city government and get the city government to do a proclamation, and then from there things go on and on. So New York is not ponied up, as we say, to become a city of peace, but I think it will in the future, and I think there'll be somebody who has civic connections enough to be able to have the proclamation as New York is a city of peace, because it certainly is, a center of peace activity of the United Nations, et cetera.
All right. Well, I'm going to pony up.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, it really is good both ways. In other words, when somebody creates an initiative, there's actually a web page created for that city and for that those leaders and that organization. So it's a reciprocal golden rule kind of activity where the benefits are two-way instead of just one way.
Well, that's why I'm so excited to get to speak with you. We're putting everything on the table for this Peace Day party. I've been involved with the International Day of Peace for, I guess, 12 years, since 2002 here in Central Park, broadcasting, and along with Susanna Bastarrica, who created the Vigil for International Day of Peace, and I've been one of the hosts on that.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been, very much, I'll say, possessed with the fact that I believe
yes.
in the entire world on the same page on the same day, and I also believe that why not get to do it on that day because that's a day that at least we have somebody, the body of the United Nations, that have all agreed. So
absolutely,
let's stick together and let's not try to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
So we have something to work from. You know, it's a big statement to say all the countries agreed. Now we need to get the individuals of the countries to agree, right, and to do a practical act of peace. So that's our thought is to try to make it a party because people like parties. And,
absolutely, yeah. You can't stand on the mountaintop and shout the word peace. You have to be able to speak the language of humanity. You have to be able to understand that nobody's. You can't go quoting Chairman Mao. Nobody's going to listen anyhow. That was a profound statement because of the idea that everyone has their idea of peace. The idea of teaching people peace is more the Aristotelian version where you ask questions and then they come to arrive at the idea that peace is the better path. And I think that's the approach that the new peace movement is taking.
That's a very wise path because nobody wants to be told they got to be peaceful. I agree with you.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
It's much. I am peaceful, is what they'll say. But,
that's right. Everyone.
Everyone. You talk to the military folks and the guys that go and put their lives on the line, and they're going for peace. We have a ton of military stories, and usually on 99 and 9/10, I don't even think anybody's ever said that they're not going there for peace and freedom.
Absolutely.
That's in the soul and the hearts, and they're, in essence, the reality is they're willing to die for it. And so you can't ask for much more than that of humanity. So, I agree with you. It's a non-judgmental approach. We've actually been trying to do that for 15 years on our Good News. I don't really care how someone paints or sings or anything, as long as they're happy.
Yeah. Well, the idea of letting people find peace has been said by philosophers and theologians for millennia. We just haven't listened to that enough. You can poke people in the eye, but that just makes them less peaceful rather than more peaceful. So the idea is to lay back, let peace as the new zeitgeist. I call peace the new zeitgeist of our times. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to let peace happen rather than try to force it to happen.
There you go. Let it be, said the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right.
Let it be. Well, Fred, I'm very excited to share a little bit of what you're doing. You have a good website also, internationalcitiesofpeace.org, where people can learn about it. I'm looking here now at it and what cities are connected and how become a city of peace and where are the cities, what are the cities of peace, so on, your advisory council. You got a great organization, highly respected, and we're here to support what you're doing and hopefully can partner more so and get New York on the map in this area.
Yes.
I am working with some of the people that are running the city now who I actually know, and to see if we can get them to be part of our Peace Day party, and hopefully we can discuss that with you too to get that word out to your community, and let's all get on the same page that day. Have that moment of silence that the UN has asked for as well. We've been celebrating it at 12 noon here Eastern Standard Time. I don't know, whether that's part of your agenda with the city.
Yeah, the International Cities of Peace has been part or supportive of the people who actually put on the International Day of Peace ceremony at the United Nations on September 21st. Actually, it's Friday, so children can participate. It'll be the 19th of September this year. But there's an organization called the IDP NGO Committee that associated with Jane Goodall and United Religion Initiative, et cetera. And they actually put on the ceremony with the children carrying the flags of the world and Secretary General ringing the bell of peace in a moment of silence. So New York, it would be great if the initiative, City Peace in New York, you could join us in that on that committee to make sure that New York is present and not only on the ground on the 21st, but also throughout the year and planning and encouraging and supporting the events for Peace Week. It'd be great.
Well, we're here to support that. But by far, we also work with the Peace Prayer Society with those flags and raised them high and created a large peace circle of human beings in Times Square. And we're going to be doing it last year, and this year we can't go in there. They're doing construction, and we're going into Central Park along with the Vigil for International Peace.
Wow, that's good to hear. That's
so
great.
That's all in the works. That'll happen, and we're hopefully going to be broadcasting live. And we have created a wonderful TV show of what we did in 2013, and hopefully we will have more information. Being in the TV business for 40 plus years myself, I'd like us to do our utmost to get the world's media connected to what we're doing, because it's a tough task on our own. I mean, it's an important task, but to get the media, it'll just spread the message in an easier way.
Yeah, absolutely. For some reason the media has been kind of hesitant about getting on board with things around the world that are reflecting peace, but I think that's changing. There's a lot of grassroots organizations, Peace Radio and Peace Day TV, and lots of different broadcast multimedia organizations kind of creating the energy to change the media and to supplement the media and get the word out. So it's great what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's great what you're doing. So we're all doing a good thing here, and we're just trying to get the word out to more so they can consider becoming involved.
Yeah, well, perfect. Yes.
It all sounds good. So, Fred, thank you. Why don't you give me what's good news for you? I ask everybody that. What's good news for you?
Well, good news is it has to be focused on children, because that's the next generation. We're just creating the conduit for them to create a better world. And I think that all of these things that we're putting together now, even though it's kind of frustrating in a sense, it doesn't get as big as we first envisioned, but we're making a lot of progress. And what we're doing is we're setting the framework for a new tomorrow, and something that the children who may not even be born yet will benefit from. So the good news is the future for me.
Okay, I love it. I'm on the same page. I love it. Fantastic. Fred, you're a great man. Thank you very much for sharing good news with us.
Okay, I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.